Well, joining us one-on-one, presented by Microsoft Teams, is Louisiana Tech head coach Skip Holtz. Coach, thanks so much for joining us here.
I appreciate you having me today. Excited to be here.
So we're going to talk about Milton Williams, the Eagles' third-round pick, a guy that you know very, very well. And we're going to get into what Milton brings on the field, what he brings off the field as well. I guess the one big question I have for you, before we dive into the background a little bit, we've talked about how Milton was a defensive end when he first got there and then slid inside to tackle this year. Could you just go into the reasoning behind that? What were the circumstances that led to that position switch for him?
Well, when he came in here as a freshman in 2017, he was a 230-pound defensive end, and now he weighs 290 pounds. I mean, so just in sheer, when you look at what he's done to his body and the progress and the growth that he's made over his time here in college, it was a natural progression. It was one of need that we had, and also one that his body continued to mature and get bigger. But even as he got bigger, by evidence by all his testing numbers, he's a guy that could play both for us. So he played some defensive end in the 3-4, but he also went inside and played some 3 technique in the 4 down package because of his size. But it was a little bit of what we had our need as a team, and also the way that Milton had developed, progressed, and the way that his body just matured. When you start getting into a college program and you start getting on training table and lifting weights year round, you're no longer playing basketball and running track and doing all those other things, and his body has just really responded, as evidenced by his numbers.
So let's dig into the recruiting process with Milton. What was it like when you were trying to recruit him and bring him onto campus? And who was the kind of person that you were trying to acquire?
Well, we always talk about you're looking for the package. You know, there's a lot of times you can just say, all right, we're looking for a football player, and you can look at all Milton's measurables, and that's who he is on the field. But we want the package. We want the student. We want the person. The biggest thing that comes from Milton, huge family guy. Tight-knit family, very close. When he was here in college, he lived with his sister. Big family guy. He's not a big partier, socialite, go-out guy. He's really kind of a homebody. And so I loved the recruiting process and how tight he was to his family and the values that he had from that family. He's just got a great core surrounding around him. Love that. Milton, as a 230-pound defensive end, was not really highly recruited. When you go back and look at who we competed against, it wasn't a lot of Power 5 schools. I mean, it was a lot of schools maybe in the group. I remember us, Tulsa, maybe New Mexico State. There was a couple smaller schools, and so was really excited. He's from Crowley, just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But like I said, great talent on the football field. And when you looked at what he could become, I thought he was one of the steals of the recruiting class for sure.
And then once you get him on campus, he's with your program for a couple of years. What kind of impact did he have on that locker room, on that meeting room, with the guys in that defensive line squad as well?
Well, we talked earlier about the package, and when you look at Milton, it was yes, he's a great player, but he's a great leader. He's not a very vocal guy. He's not a rah-rah locker room, rally the troops. But yet was voted a team captain because of the respect that everybody had for him. Milton came in. He waited his turn. He didn't come in. He wasn't an immediate superstar, you know, when you put it on as the guy that came in and wasn't a freshman All-American, didn't start as a freshman. We had some pretty good players when you started looking at guys like Vernon Butler and Jalen Ferguson and some other guys that have gone on to the league. But he waited his turn. He got in the weight room with Kurt Hester, our strength coach. He worked incredibly hard. He's one of those guys that he comes early, he stays late. He's a no-nonsense guy, as evidenced by what he's done to his body here over the last 4 years while he was in college. But had an opportunity to come back for his senior year, but he left after his junior year. He had another year of eligibility to come back. But when you look at the progress that he made and the contribution he made here at Louisiana Tech, I am ecstatic for him. Hated the news that he was going to go out. That was his decision. But now I am Milton Williams' biggest cheerleader. Not a lot I can do now, but to watch him go and succeed. But like I said, I think what the Eagles get and what the fans get, they're going to find a hardworking, committed family guy that's going to bring a lot of value to the locker room, as you talked about. He's a pro. He handles his business. He's not a guy that he's never been in my office for any disciplinary issues, anything off the field. takes care of his business academically. He's a pro that he takes care of his business. And so love him, and I'm cheering my tail off for him. And I think the Eagle fans are going to have a lot of fun watching him wreak havoc from that defensive line spot.
Coach, we've been talking a few minutes about him, and outside of talking about the position switch and how he's changed his body, we haven't talked about him on the field. What are some of the things that he brings to the table? Give us a little bit of a scouting report, because I got to tell you, when I didn't know much about him before I turned the film on back in January, and I was blown away by what I saw.
No, just athletic, explosive, fast, strong, angry. I mean, it's the mindset that you have to play this game with. And he brings some incredible physical attributes. Like I said, if you put his numbers up against everybody in the draft, I think that's one of the reasons that he climbed the way that he did. He's got great film. He had a great year for us. As I said, he was voted a captain, had a great season for us. When you look at a time when so many guys were opting out or saying, I don't want to get hurt, Milton was in the middle of those trenches playing every down. I mean, standing with his teammates, competing his tail off with them. Those are the things I love about him. He's very unselfish, but as a football player, he's going to continue to get better. As a guy that came in as a defensive end, then moved to D-tackle and got bigger, and then he left early, I think his football's ahead of him. I think he's still got a lot of growth and development. He's going to continue to get better fundamentally because he is a guy that's going to come in. He's going to work at it. He's going to watch film. He's going to look at where I need to get better. But he uses his hands great. He's got explosive speed and power coming out of that defensive line position, and he plays the game with a passion, with an anger, and with a passion. And I think he's only going to get better and better. So I'm really excited for Milton and his family, but like I said, really excited for the Eagles because I think you've got a gem that has an opportunity to have some staying power in the NFL and be a long-term player in that league.
Coach, you mentioned that he had played like some 3-4 defensive end, played some defensive tackle. I think fans, they're quick to think, he's an undersized 3 technique. He's just trying to get after the quarterback. But you watch him, and you talked about how well he uses his hands. You could see that explosive power, the knockback he gets on offensive linemen, how violent he can be with his hands. This is not just a one-trick pony kind of player. You talked about how well-rounded his skill set is.
Yeah, he's not the. I don't think he's going to be just a role player.
Yeah.
I don't think he's just a 285 to 290 pound potential 3 technique that's only going to play in passing situations. I think he can wreak havoc as a defensive end with his quickness and as a 3 technique with his explosiveness and his power in the pass rush game. But as you said, he plays the game much bigger than he is. Even though he's only 290 pounds, he plays the game. He does such a great job of using his hands and utilizing his leverage, his speed, his quickness, his athleticism, but he plays the game extremely physical. I don't think if somebody's going to line up and run the ball every single down in the NFL, you look at these 320-pound defensive linemen, I don't know if he's going to be that on every single play, but he's certainly strong enough. He's explosive enough to be a great pass rusher, but I think he's big and physical enough to be able to be a guy that can be in there and hold his own against the run as well.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for peeling back the curtain a little bit, shedding some light on Milton Williams, both on and off the field. Eagles fans really excited to have him here in Philadelphia. Stay safe, stay healthy. Best of luck the rest of the spring and going into the fall.
Well, I appreciate it. You got a great player, but more importantly, you got a great person there in Philadelphia. And like I said, cheering my tail off. Go Eagles. Excited for y'all.